Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of, who are now, I am proud to announce, official Twitch affiliates as of first thing this morning. Literally woke up to the email today. We made it, guys. Hashtag road to affiliate is over. We are officially... Oh, I don't know what happened there, Bob, but your message got deleted. I don't know what you said.
It's okay. I was the first one to get banned from
Yeah,
our
don't worry.
chat,
The
so-
first one for like the Nightbot pulled up was actually one of our own
Yeah.
podcasters, so don't worry about it.
Totally.
But yeah, we are now officially Twitch affiliates. I am so freaking excited. What that means for all of you in the Comic Clan, that means on Twitch, if you're with us, you can go ahead and click that little button that says subscribe and subscribe to our channel now. It helps support us financially like that. Also means down at the bottom of the messages, there is now a little diamond icon where you can click and you can share some bits to cheer along for us. Both of which are now official ways. And he did it. Bob Thracer officially did it.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Bob, I didn't even get a chance to announce it. I didn't even get a chance to say it. But you are officially the first member of the Stan Clan, represented by my little Super Stan Funko Pop I've got up here. And as the first official subscriber, you're the first one in the elite level of the Comic Clan. I'm going to be reaching out to you to get your details because you're going to get an official Comics in the Cross t-shirt and Comics in the Cross mug as the very first subscriber to the Comics in the Cross channel. So thank you so much for that first sub, Bob. We 100% appreciate it. And also get to appreciate and hand out something amazing to one of our who's also supported and thrown in some bits just for the fun of it as well. Just making sure it all works, you know. I absolutely appreciate it. That shouldn't be coming up with the bits thing. I should have a pop-up for when we get bits. I'll need to look at that. But thank you so much for that, Bob. We've got our first subscriber and our first bits thrown in there. So, yep, it's all working. It's all popping up on screen, so that's good. I'm glad it's all working. But I'll reach out and send you a message, Bob. Bob is also a shout-out to our sponsor who's up here, Gamer Grind Co. He's also part of Gamer Grind. He's one of the guys that's sponsored by them as well. So, massive shout-out to them, who actually earlier this week I thought that was going to be the big news. That actually Gamer Grind officially has upgraded us. We are now influencers with Gamer Grind. So if I put in our sponsor link, if I can type, if you go to Gamer Grind and go and buy anything out of their store, you can now use at checkout Comics in the Cross to save 5% off of anything you purchase in their store. Going up in the world, people. We're going up. Yeah, thank you, Bob. We appreciate it. So yeah, it's a freaking big week for us, pretty much, really.
Huge, man. Huge
week. We're now influenced with Gamer Grind. We're now Twitch affiliates, which is just phenomenal. The thing.
I know that was our big goal, man.
Yeah, that was a big goal, was to hit affiliate. We were so close. We were at like 2 point something average viewers for like 2-3 weeks.
I know. It's like it was like 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. I'm like, come on.
It was like slowly going up bit by bit, and then totally surprised. I checked Twitch this morning, and we have an email from them saying that we're now Twitch affiliates. So it's just exciting. It's just exciting to be able to say that because although the stream's only on episode 5, we've actually been working in Comics in the Cross for like a year and a half at least.
Yeah, at least.
We've been working at least a year and a half in the background to prepare everything before we did it. So it's just
I'm pretty sure our logo is about a year and a half old.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's still awesome though. I mean, I
love it.
I love Superhero Dude. He's amazing.
That's his official name, by the way, Superhero.
Yeah, that is his official name. I don't know what happened with that. We just came up with Superhero Dude one night and it just stuck. But yeah, for anyone wanting to know about that as well, I know no one asked, but that was of course our very own Nitro who designed our logo, Comics in the Cross. I remember when he first showed me, I was so excited for it. The logo looks dope. It still does. The guy, he knows what he's doing. Nitro's an amazing artist. He knows what he's doing. To your advice and got the Hush comic and watched the animated film. Awesome. Nice. What did you think of it, ads? If anyone had missed out on that was our discussion last week talking about pitching the DCEU. My movie for Batman that I pitched was basically do the Hush comic. There is no reason not to do that. And put in a couple of links for people to go and check it out. So what did you think, ads? Did you like Hush? Okay,
Dude,
All right, I'm going to preface this right now. You're going to see me like moving about in this chair a lot. I have got a brand new chair, as you can see. It's gorgeous, new streaming chair. I'm still kind of getting used to like a good sitting pattern for it. It's like I'm not used to it yet. So if you see me moving about during stream, that's probably what's going on. Is me trying to get comfy in it.
A total side note, I know. So to continue our conversation we had last week, just briefly, since we're talking about Batman, real quick.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys saw it, but on Twitter, so there was a high level leaked plot of Ben Affleck's Batman film.
Yeah. I literally just seen that earlier today.
So it was basically he was trapped in Arkham and he had to fight his way out. And I just want to say that I was the original one with that idea.
We'll definitely point that out. If you go back to last week's video, that was literally the plot that Nitro came up with for his Batman movie in the DCEU. So, and I'd say he absolutely loved it. Like I know you would. Like, if for nothing else, I recommend Hush. If the story's phenomenal,
dude,
the
Hush
story's
is sweet.
great. But if you're going to buy it for nothing else, the art is worth it. The art is beautiful.
Yeah, Jim Lee is just
love
a beast.
Jim Lee. One of my favorite artists of all time, 100%. The guy's just phenomenal.
I didn't mean to gloss over the chair cross.
No,
the chair looks sick.
No, yeah, so we got a brand new chair. You know, it's not the most expensive chair in the world, but we're getting up in the world. We're upgrading. You know, everyone has seen the pictures on social media. I had a broken steel folding chair from Target that was my office chair because we didn't have money for anything else. So we got our stimulus check from the government, and I coaxed my wife into allowing me to use some of it to get a new chair. Well, actually, I'll give her credit. She offered to use it because she's like, you can't keep sitting in that chair. We need to get you an actual chair, especially now like I'm working from home, so I'm working out of this office.
Yep.
Every day pretty much now, not just for the stream. So like when I'm sitting up here all day, you need a proper chair to actually sit in.
Priorities, man.
Yeah, man. But you lovely people that are in the crowd, you are not here to talk about comics this week. As much as we love comics, as much as that is our go-to, this week has been branded Cosmic and the Cross.
Cosmic and the Cross. First episode of Cosmic and the Cross.
First ever, we're going into talking about some sci-fi stuff today. I don't know how much we're going to do with Cosmic and the Cross in the future. We'll see how this one goes. We'll see how it kind of plays out, and we're going to mess with it because like I was planning to do Cosmic and the Cross was an idea in my head for a while, and to eventually do. Thank you for the host ads. I absolutely appreciate it there. Zachary Levi Shazam is flossing on your behalf.
Oh shoot.
But you know, it's like I've always wanted to do this because I'm a big sci-fi fan. I love sci-fi stuff, and superheroes in my sense come under sci-fi anyway. It's science fiction. It's things that are not quite fantasy, but they're so surreal and out there and different. And so yeah, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So this was always in my head.
Dude, I love sci-fi.
Yeah, Nitro's a big sci-fi fan as well. But as we found out a few episodes ago, if you were here in the chat, there are some gaps in his sci-fi knowledge.
There are some gaps.
There are some shows that he has not seen.
Some apparently rather large gaps.
Oh yeah, I mean you were. He had the audacity a few weeks ago to say he had never seen Firefly, and the whole
audacity.
The entire chat turned on him at that moment.
Yeah, I became public enemy numero uno.
The entire chat turned on him and just like, okay.
I didn't say I didn't want to watch it. I just never saw it.
You hinted at it heavily that you didn't.
I did hint at it, but
to be fair, it's for Joss Whedon. But also to be fair, and it's a good introduction to something that's Joss Whedon, because although he created it and he's one of the executive producers on it, very few of the episodes does he actually write or direct.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? So we decided we were going to do this. We're going to do 2 Cosmic and the Crosses based on Firefly. The first one is going to be reviewing episodes 1 to 8. We're not going to go in depth into every single episode, but we're going to try and hit on them, talk about them, what we liked, what we didn't like, different stuff like that. And then if we do a second one, I'll be picking up from 9 all the way through to 14 and include the Serenity movie. I figured that would be a good evening out because that's about 7 normal length episodes, and then episode 1's like a double length one, so it's almost an hour and a half. So that'll match up with doing the movie as part 2. So that was the setup for it.
Yep.
So we are going to go into reviewing episodes 1 through 8, and I'm going to kick it over to Nitro because just like everyone else, I am desperate desperate to hear what Nitro has got to say on this. It's like I have no idea what he's going to say. He's hinted at
I
some
feel like I
stuff.
need to preface.
We've been chatting a little bit, and he's kind of hinted at stuff that he's going to say in this, but we have not talked about this. We've saved this for stream, so anything he's about to go into, I'm pretty much in the dark as much as you are. So we'll see.
All right.
We'll see
All
how
right.
this
So
goes.
I feel like I need to preface where I'm coming from. So I'm obviously not the biggest fan of Joss Whedon because apparently I was pronouncing his name incorrectly for the past couple weeks. That's what my wife told me today. So I was saying Josh with an H, Whedon, as opposed to Josh Whedon. So I do know that some of the stuff that he does. I'm just not in general a fan of his. That being said, I tried to go in objectively. I tried to go in with an open mind and not shut it down from the beginning. So I actually wrote notes based off every single episode, but I know you said we're not going to go episode by episode.
Yeah,
so
we're probably not going to go hit episode by episode, but we'll try and hit in most of the major parts. Just because, like, if we go in depth in 8 episodes, it's going to go way longer than an hour and a half podcast. So we'll try and cover like as much as we can in each episode. We'll obviously spend a bit of time on the intro. Some of our favorite episodes will go in.
Yeah.
Different stuff like that. So Nitro has written notes. I have written no notes because I don't know if you can see the t-shirt here on stream. That's his brown coats right there, and underneath it is Mal Reynolds' guns. And actually, you know what? I'm going to actually get in hand for this. Give me a second. I'm getting up from my chair. Give me 1 second.
So we have a true Dyed in the Wool fan in Cross.
This was a gift a few years ago. Hold on, I get my earphones back in so I can actually hear Nitro. So if you can see that, it's a replica of Mal Reynolds' gun from the show.
Yeah, that's sweet. Now that's sweet.
So like, I freaking adore this gun.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
awesome.
the design of it. My wife actually got me this as a present off of Think Geek. I think it was Think Geek she got it from.
Yeah.
So it's a replica of Mal Reynolds' gun, and I have no issue sitting holding this on stream. It is not real.
Just hold it up in the air the whole stream.
It is not real. It doesn't pull. I'm prefacing this right here. This isn't a real gun. This is a replica prop from the show. Replica of Mal Reynolds' gun, and I absolutely adore it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
As you can see from the shirt, from the props, I also have a Mal Reynolds action figure boxed up on my shelves as well. Also, one other thing I'm going to preface it with, and then I'm going to let Nitro go, just because I'm showing where I'm coming from. Nitro's coming from no background for this.
Yeah, and while Cross is getting his stuff, like I said, I've never seen this show, so this was my first. But
if you can see this on stream, it is a picture of the Firefly cast, and my goal is to get it signed by all of them. Obviously, R.I.P. Ron Glass, who plays Shepherd Book, who's no longer with us.
Oh, I didn't know he passed.
I have one signature on it already, where I met Jewel State, who plays Kaylee.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I want to preface that just because I want to show that we've got Nitro coming in as a background of really not knowing the show, not being a fan of Joss Whedon. I'm coming into this talk today as a pretty hardcore fan of Firefly. Yeah. I love this show. I'm coming in fully. This is one of my things. So I'm intrigued to see the contrast here of like me being someone who's really into it and someone who's like coming into it for the first time.
Yeah. So all right. So like I was saying earlier, I am definitely a sci-fi fan. I love sci-fi. I have since I was little. I've discovered a revelation. Wait a minute.
Revelation's the right one.
Yeah. Well,
Revelation's overthrowing a government. Revelation's an epiphany.
There we go. I've had a revelation about the type of sci-fi that I like. And all right, so I made a list of pros and cons. All right, so let's start off with let's start off with the pros. So I think they have a couple of really, really, really strong characters for an episodic TV series. I think Nathan Fillion is a beast as Captain Reynolds. Alan Tudyk as Wash. I think his name is Wash, right?
Yeah,
Wash. Brilliant. And I really like Jewel State as Kaylee.
Oh, yeah.
And I think so Joss, see, I did it again. Joss Whedon, he really likes to write female characters, but I think a lot of times they come across as flat or too forced, in my opinion. But here, I think, is a really good example of a female character that is unconventional, that is done very well, because she's a mechanic. Like, how often do you see a female mechanic? And it's not like uh, they changed her to fit a mechanic mold. She's still very much feminine, but she kicks butt as the mechanic, and she's super intelligent. And I think they do a really good job with that character. Um, I think the show does a lot with very little. Like you can tell by some of the episodes, like maybe the budget wasn't necessarily like super high, but what they did with it. I'm thinking specifically of the episode where they tried to sell the cattle. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the episode was in that small town and on that cattle ranch. Like it was those were basically the two locations. Um, but I think they did a lot in that episode. Like there was a lot of character development and that type of stuff. So I thought that was really good. I think the series does better when it takes itself more serious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Episode 8 was by far my favorite so far.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that they did that narrative, the storytelling, as far as there was three sets of flashbacks. So when they first got Serenity, in the present, and then in the future that we didn't know what had happened yet when he had been shot, when Captain Reynolds had been shot. For those of you who haven't seen it, sorry.
Yes, I was going to say full spoilers, by the way,
Yeah,
for like
yeah,
a 20-year-old sci-fi show.
yeah. But
If you've not seen it by now, you're probably not gonna, unless you're Nitro and I'm forcing you to.
yeah. But all right, so I will say I enjoyed the series. I can definitely see why
Mm-hmm.
people like it. It's not necessarily my type of sci-fi that I would go out of my way to watch, because, like I said, I like when sci-fi is slightly more serious in tone.
Yeah.
That being said, I do appreciate humor. Like I can appreciate humor um, in a dramatically toned whatever it is, like a TV series or movie or whatever. I can absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think kind of going into the cons, I think one of the things that, from my perspective, that the show struggles with is one of the same things that I think Joss Whedon's stuff struggles with in general is just the consistent tone. Like I don't mind comedy and stuff, but I think there needs to be an underlying like a foundational tone that's set for whatever you're watching. And I
Mm-hmm.
think his is kind of all over the place. Like it'll be a lot of comedy and there'll be a lot of drama and then it'll be, it's just not a consistent. There's not a foundational tone, I think, and that's where he kind of loses me a bit in some of the episodes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I had assumed that he wrote and directed all the episodes, and I found out after the fact that that was not the case. But some of the episodes that I wasn't as much of a fan of, the majority of them were written or directed by him,
Yeah,
by Joss.
I can completely agree with that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, even last night, like we've been watching through the show. Nigel's been watching. I've been rewatching it. I will say that like last night, I watched episode 7 and 8, which for anyone who doesn't know, that's Jamestown with
Hmm.
the hero of Canton when he goes back and finds out he's a hero, and Out of Gas, which is when the ship's basically busted and Mal has been shot and we don't know what's going on. We find out
Yeah.
bit by bit. We'll also get in the origin of how everybody came to be on Serenity.
Yeah.
Um, both of those are like two phenomenally strong episodes.
Hmm.
They're phenomenally well written. Even Janestown, like the comedy's there for it as well, but it's done.
Yeah.
It's done,
It's done well. Yeah, it's done well. It's not
Joss
like it doesn't feel forced.
Joss Whedon was not a writer and not a director on either of those episodes. I
Right.
never paid attention to like the other ones, but I really noticed it in last night's too, and I was like, wow, see when it gets really good, he's not touching it.
Yeah, and that's when I started looking at the actual directors and writers for each episode because I
Mm.
was like, no way, Joss. At least it didn't feel like a Josh Whedon something to me.
Oh
Episode
no,
8.
no,
So I went
no.
in and I was like, okay, it wasn't him, but it was this guy, and I forgot his name, Solomon, David Solomon, I think, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. David
Um,
Solomon does a lot of stuff. Tim Minear, who's the other executive
yeah,
producer and creator of it, he does a lot of stuff on it. Yeah, there's a lot of amazing stuff out there on it. But
yeah.
like, I can totally get that though.
There
I
was one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ross.
No, on you go. Go for it, man.
I was gonna say. So after the fact, one of the episodes that I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is just awful," was the one where Captain Reynolds gets married. He gets like drunk at a
Mm.
party, and then he gets married. And like this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Is I don't think Joss is good at writing particularly strong female characters. I think his idea of a strong female character is just not realistic as far
Mm.
as the way that he portrays them. And the perfect example of this is this episode. I think it was episode 6. I forgot the name of it. Um, Our Captain Reynolds, I think is what it's called. Where he gets married basically, and he's like, "Oh crap! I didn't know I got married." And then his new wife proceeds to seduce like the entire crew. I'm like, really? Is this really realistic? Like this would really happen? Like there's no willpower
Yeah.
from anyone, like no one on the ship, including the companion. I forgot her name offhand,
Oh,
but
Winara.
including her.
Yeah.
Like really? Come on, man. Like let's just slow down a bit. But
Yeah, like I will give it in that, like in that episode, like there's very much like she clearly, it's one of those things like they really hint at the fact of like she's had like real training, like they hint at the fact she's had companion training like Inara, so she's used
yeah.
to like working that out, but they hint heavily like she's had all this other training as well,
Mm-hmm.
like from all these other backgrounds, but you never actually see her use any of that. You just see her
Yeah.
try to seduce everybody.
Yeah.
She tries to seduce Captain Reynolds, who obviously is like the guy who's a mark.
Mm-hmm.
That she's like playing it all up for and stuff, which understandably. So the whole thing's focused on that. I
Yeah.
can even see her doing it with Inara because it kind of plays a little bit of a storyline thing, because Inara can tell like, oh, that's not just normal. You're seducing people, like that's companion like academy training.
Yeah.
So I can kind of get that one. The one that came out of nowhere is like she all of a sudden goes onto the ship and she has to like she tries to sabotage it and like just starts seducing Wash out of nowhere.
Yeah. I'm like, that was the one that got me. I'm like, really?
And it's like it does feel out of nowhere, and
Come
I'm
on,
like,
man.
and it's almost like for a minute Wash is getting lulled into it. I'm very grateful that he didn't like kiss her and didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful he kind of went, no, I'm a married man.
Yeah.
And my wife will kill me, literally.
She will literally murder me.
It's like Zoe will literally kill him if he does
Yeah, yeah.
anything.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, that being said, I am enjoying it. I
Mm.
don't know if I can necessarily say I'm a fan yet. I am definitely still being open-minded about it. I know I mentioned this to you, Cross. There's a couple things that really stick out to me that I don't quite understand and are a bit distracting. One of them is the Chinese. And
Yeah.
I know we had a discussion about this the other night. But I just with no context given behind it, at least not any more than they've already given. For me, it's just very distracting.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like it's one of those things you have to look into. My guess is it's something that they were going to go into,
Yeah.
and they would maybe explain a bit further, because they kind of explain it a bit more when you watch Serenity, like the movie.
Okay.
At the start of it, they kind of explain more in depth a little bit of what happened and stuff, and like people leaving Earth, and there's a little kind of background to it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I kind of started looking into stuff myself that I found that it's like it's part of the language now. The English and the Chinese and the Mandarin have kind of like merged together into its own kind of language.
Yeah.
But of course, like honestly though, like you really get the feeling of like the Mandarin's mostly the cuss words, and it was literally an excuse for them to get away of being on prime time
Pretty
and be
much.
able to cuss.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what they're saying. They threw in some others, but like let's be honest, that was probably the main reason.
Yeah. One thing that really stuck out to me as I like immediately, I was like, oh, Captain Reynolds is Han Solo. Like, there's no question.
Yeah, pretty
that they
much.
fashioned that character after Han Solo. There's no question about it.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a Han Solo archetype. He's a it's like he's a lovable rogue lawbreaker.
Yeah.
Space
I will
cowboy.
say in the first episode, he really was not that likable as a character. He's definitely grown on me since then. I think he's probably the strongest character on the show, obviously. But the first episode, I was like, this is not a particularly likable person.
Yeah, well, since we're hitting that, let's jump into some of the episodes then. So let's start off. Episode 1 was the double length one, which I will preface this, by the way, I didn't find this out till later. The episodes as they are, like on Hulu right now, which is where we were watching them, and on the DVD release I've got the Blu-ray, which is the same order. They were actually released on TV in a different order.
Really?
Yeah, so Serenity wasn't the first episode that aired on TV because people didn't think people were going to get into it.
I did notice that the numbering convention online, when I was looking up the episode titles and stuff, was different. Like
They
wherever
changed
I looked.
They wanted to try and drag people in, so they actually put episode 2 on first, the train job, because they thought a big heist thing like that would be more likely to draw people in.
Okay.
So we're going off of what's on Hulu right now. If you go to Hulu and check it out, or if you've got the DVD or the Blu-ray, this is the order it's on there. This is the official order of what it was meant to be.
Okay.
You know, which is like if you read what order they're in, like after having watched it this way, it's really weird to see them like having removed the episodes. It changes stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first one is Serenity. It's called Serenity.
That's the pilot, basically.
Yeah, that's the
Yep.
pilot episode. That's the double feature. This is when we get our first introduction to the crew, first introduction to who they are. It's a small crew at first. We see them taking on passengers and stuff. We see them getting on a big job.
Yep.
And the whole thing is basically them trying to unload goods that they can't unload.
Mhm.
Basically, so let's delve into this. So let's delve into the characters first of all. So you started
Sure.
talking about Captain Reynolds. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So I really like Captain Reynolds. One of the notes that I had, I said Captain Reynolds is basically Han Solo. I said he's not particularly charming or likable, but again, that was the very first episode, so that was my introduction to him as a character.
oh yeah,
He's definitely grown. I said I feel like the series is like Unforgiven meets A New Hope. Like I feel like it's a Western meets Star Wars.
pretty much yes.
Yeah.
It is literally he's a space cowboy.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
hundred
Pretty much.
percent. It's a space western.
Yeah. A lot of characters were introduced. I made a note of that. I feel like Josh Josh likes to do that. I feel like he likes to juggle a lot of characters at the same time. Hence why he did Avengers and why he did Firefly and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like it might suffer. Some of the other characters might suffer because of that. Um,
I think as
but
long
yeah,
as you're invested for the whole show,
true.
I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
likely. Because like we talked about when you get to like episode 8 out of gas, you've got a feel of the characters where they are in life now, and then you start to see them coming on the ship. It's like
yeah. That was so cool.
there's no like at the start you don't need to know everyone's backstory. Like we find out like obviously Mal and Zoe, they were part of the war, and there was a war between the Alliance and the Independents, the Browncoats, which is
Yeah,
why Firefly fans call themselves Browncoats is after that.
yeah. Okay.
The whole thing with that is you start to see that they were at war with each other, they were killing each other, and we basically come in at the final battle, or what's hinted at as the battle where the war was won. It
Mm,
continued after that, but it was the Battle of Serenity Valley,
yeah. Okay.
which is where like you see Mal like basically trying to call in air support, trying to call in assistance, and it doesn't work.
Oh, is that what he called the ship Serenity?
Yeah, he calls it Serenity
Ah,
after
I didn't know
Serenity
that.
Valley. After it was named after that, because that's why if you go to episode 3, Bushwhacked, and when the Alliance are like interrogating them, the Alliance guy interrogates him and basically says that why would you name your ship after like your greatest loss?
Yeah.
So why would you name it after the greatest loss? And it's like,
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that.
yeah, so it's like it was named after the valley where they basically the Browncoats lost the war.
Yeah.
And then from there, basically that's the only background we get. We see a good bit of the war. We see them fighting, trying to take the
Hmm.
valley. Mal isn't a captain at this point; he's a sergeant, and Zoe's his second in command of his unit.
Hmm.
Which is why where the two of them meet and where the two of them basically work together since, and that's why she comes with him to be on the ship.
Yeah.
And then we get straight into like some thievery going on as they basically crack an empty ship, steal some cargo off of it, and it turns out it's at first the first time watching it, I remember thinking I thought it was like gold bars or something, or at least the equivalent of it,
Yeah.
that were like marked with Alliance currency, and it turns out it's protein packs. It's food
Yeah.
marked with
Yeah.
Alliance stuff.
That's a cool like alternative take on a lot of sci-fi. They're just trying to steal food.
Yeah, which is like you literally don't get that until like the final confrontation with Patience
Yeah.
when he
Which I thought was a fantastic action
oh
set piece. Like
amazing
I wrote in
scene.
my notes, I said the shootout was awesome, and shooting the horse was a
Oh, right on
fantastic
top
move.
of her, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fantastic move.
Yeah, I mean, best bit of that scene for me is like literally before it kicks off when you just see the guy with the sniper rifle about to take, and then you just see him getting dragged off screen,
Yeah.
and then Jane just lies down and takes it.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was probably one of my favorite parts of that whole episode.
But yeah, so we get to see a lot of amazing stuff in that episode. Little overview for it. So we get the introduction to Shepherd Book, to Simon Tan, who's bringing on something onto the ship. They're coming on as transport people. As travelers being transported to, I can't even remember where the destination they were going was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
They got on at Persephone, but I can't remember where they were going. But obviously, like, stuff's going on. It turns out another guy comes on. There's a mole that's for the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So they open up Simon's crate, and it turns out that his sister is in there.
Yeah.
River Tam, who the government basically experimented on, who did all this stuff to her, and he basically gave up his whole life to save her.
Yeah.
And they're now fugitives on the run, so we have that going on, and we have them trying to shift the Alliance goods, and trying to find someone they can drop it to. They take it to who they were going to in Persephone, to Badger, played by Mark Sheppard, a big name from a lot of sci-fi stuff. Most people will know him from Supernatural. He's a reoccurring face in Supernatural. I completely forgot the character's name in Supernatural, but yeah, he's in that. He's probably well known for that. He's done a lot of like geek sci-fi stuff, so he's fairly well known in the world. So he plays Badger and basically says, not taking the cargo.
Yeah.
There's a bulletin been put out for a Firefly transport carrying this cargo. I'm not taking it. It's a dead man's job if I take that.
Yeah.
Backs out of the deal, so they're left with a cargo that they need to unload on someday. They then go to meet with Patience on the moon, someone they've dealt with before who shot Mal during their last meeting.
Yeah.
Go to hand over the stuff to her, and it ends up in a big, massive shootout. Jane takes out the sniper, takes that spot, and him, Mal, and Zoe basically blast the heck out of all of them.
Yeah, dude. When he shot the horse, I almost fell out my seat. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's like he just couldn't get the shot on her, just shot the horse. Horse fell right on top of her.
Yeah.
And I love the moment.
It felt like the Indiana Jones part section of the movie where that dude's like swinging the swords around. He just shoots him in the head.
Yeah, it was one of those moments, and I love how he ends it as well. He just goes up and puts the gun in her face and says, "I get paid."
Yeah,
and takes the money.
Yeah, that was good. I really like that.
Let's leave it there. Beautiful. He's just dropping some stuff off, but yeah, it's such a phenomenal. It's a phenomenal episode. I really like it as an introduction, and then of course the whole thing ends, which we haven't talked about the fact that like the government guy gets revealed. He tries to take Simon and River, and it's going to take in the whole crew. Kaylee pops up behind them, coming out from the back room, gets shot in the stomach. So
yeah,
they of course take care of the lawman. He manages to escape out of his binds, goes to try and take River and Simon again, and as Mal's coming back on after meeting with Patience, literally doesn't even stop his stride.
Yeah.
Walks in the ship, boom, straight through the head. And Jane just throw him off the boat and take off.
One thing that surprised me about this is I was expecting not a more family friendly show, but I was expecting a more tame, and this show is like surprisingly violent, which I'm okay with in a TV show and stuff like that, but it was kind of surprising.
Yeah, I think it works well for it. I think because
I agree.
When
it adds stake, like real stakes to it.
Because they talk about the Alliance being like the inward planets who are mostly taken care of, but like Firefly takes place mostly on the outer planets. They're trying to stay out of Alliance view, trying to stay on the outer rim of stuff, which are all these little backwater planets who are basically like westerns. If you go to the main city, which you'll see in an upcoming episode, they go to one of the cities, and it's like a beautiful city. It's a modern city, which is like, it's a total contrast compared to like the stuff that they've been doing on all these little like western looking places, you know. Also as well, this is our first introduction to the Reavers. We don't get we don't get much about them on this episode.
I would say a hint.
It's a hint at them, but I think that moment where the ships are passing each other,
it's super tense, and they did it really well.
Super tense, and I think they build up the tensity of like who the Reavers are. They don't have to say much to let you know who these guys are and how dangerous they are. And again, it doesn't go into too much more. Like, they show up later chasing them, and they manage to get away, and it's like it's taken care of.
Yeah. I thought they did that part really well.
Yeah, and I think they're handled very well in that. So what did you overall like, good and bad, about the first episode then?
So I wrote a couple notes the stuff that I haven't already said. I thought some of the dialogue was a little bit cringy, but I like what you said as far as the introduction to the Reavers. I think they did a good job introducing the characters as a whole. I'm not a huge fan of the pastor character, to be quite honest, and I can expand on that a little bit later in some of the other episodes. I thought the way that they wrapped it up was awesome. The shootout was probably my favorite part of the whole episode. I know Kaylee. I think her name is Kaylee. Yeah, Kaylee got shot, and they kind of hinted that she might be paralyzed. But then, like the next episode, she's perfectly fine, and like she's playing a game, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why you hinted at that if we're not gonna follow through on that, but yeah, because I felt like they did hint that she might have been like paralyzed from like the waist down from that shot.
I never got that they hinted at that. The only
Yeah,
thing I got from it was like she probably shouldn't be moving with the wound in her gut like that. That's why they like
yeah,
carry her to the engine room at the end.
that makes sense.
But I don't think they would paralyze a character, and that's just not because they wouldn't put that representation in there, but just because it's going to make getting around so much clunkier putting
That's true.
someone in a
Yeah,
wheelchair, because like that ship's nothing but staircases.
yeah,
You know, it's like it's nothing but up and down getting around it. It would just make things really complicated.
yeah. Because I put in the second episode, I said the chick who got shot, which I obviously didn't know her name at the time. I said the chick who got shot is now magically okay. But yeah, that makes sense though. That makes
That's because Simon's a really good doctor.
sense.
That she's
um,
absolutely got the hots for, like right off the bat.
See, I didn't get that. Like, I'm very thick-headed, to be just transparent. So I didn't get that they were. But yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't. Did you want to go into the next episode or into the next several episodes? Kind of wrap
Yeah,
them up.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's just jump through the next episodes a little bit. Thing I want to focus on Serenity because that's the main one. The next one I want to focus on a little bit more because this was for a lot of people who watched the shows that was coming out. This was their pilot. Was the train job.
Mm-hmm.
We're introduced to Niska. Who
Oh, the
spoil
villain.
who
Yeah.
spoilers for the second half of the season. He does come back.
Okay.
That it's like it's one of those things like it could have really been a loose end on a single season show,
Yeah.
but he does come back, because like obviously it ends with the fact of them not completing the job for him,
Yeah.
and it's highly hinted at that he's like this big gangster sort of type person, this big like crime lord, and if you take a job for him, you finish it, you don't screw him over.
Yeah. I
Um,
thought. Yeah, I thought that episode was cool. I liked the plot of it, especially when they were going through the carts and they passed an entire uh, cart full of Fed Alliance people.
oh
That
yeah,
was really cool. That was really funny.
yeah. So in that episode, they meet with Niska. They get a job to go and pull some loot off of a train, off of one of the back planets. Basically, the job is get it off the train before it reaches its destination, um, and that's pretty much the whole thing. They get there, they take the loot off. Mal and Zoe get stuck on the train, so they get to the destination and find out that it's not just any loot, not any money. It's actually medicine
Yeah,
that the town desperately needs for like a disease that like the town specifically gets due to the mining that takes place there.
and I'll say that the interrogation scene between the sheriff and Captain Reynolds, and what's her name again? Was it Zoe? It wasn't
It's
Zoe, was
Zoe,
it?
yeah,
Oh, it was Zoe. Okay. Yeah, between them, I thought that was like really, really good. The way that that was written, because it was played up that the sheriff was just dumb. But at the end, you realize that he had been playing them the whole time that he was interviewing him, and he really knew all along, basically,
yeah.
that they weren't who they said they were. Uh, but I thought that was really cool. I wrote one note that I thought the character development in this episode was really well, or really good, not really well, really good, because they kind of established that even though they're kind of like outlaws, quotation marks, they have a code, and they kind of expanded on that code a bit. You know, at the end of the episode, spoiler alert, when they give the medicine back to that town, um, and I thought it was a really cool piece of storytelling where the sheriff was like, "All right, you guys can go," type
Yeah,
thing. You know,
there,
that was really cool.
there was so much background to the characters developed in this. You got to know them so
Yeah,
much through this episode. Like, we got to see Mal and Zoe. The fact of like, as soon as they found out what was taken, it was this medicine that was needed. No, we need to give this back.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't even a second thought.
Yeah, we get to see a bit of Jane's background. The fact of like he's in it for the money. That's why he does this. He's a merc. He does this to get the money. So the fact of like, no, we need to drop this off so we can get paid.
Yeah,
You know, we also get a hint at Shepherd Book's background a little bit
yeah,
in the kind of a throwaway line in this one where it's like where Shepherd Book says like mentions Niska's name like when Jane wants to go and make the drop without the captain
hmm
and tells him like, yeah, if that's the person he made the deal with, then we need to get him because he's not going to be happy with someone else coming in to do that.
yeah.
And they kind of like, and Jane even says it like, one day you're going to tell us how a preacher knows something like that.
Well, yeah, and there was another episode later in the series where he got hurt, and the Fed Alliance was like, I think they were searching the ship or whatnot, and he was basically like, just look at my ID card. And they were like, oh, because they wouldn't let him on the ship, the Fed Alliance, because they were trying to get him to get fixed, obviously medically. And the feds were like, no, we're not gonna let you on our ship. And the shepherd was like, dude, just look at my ID. And they looked at his ID and they were like, all right, get him on the ship immediately. But they
Yeah.
haven't hinted at, all right, what does that mean? Like, obviously he has some ties to something and he's important at some point. So.
Yeah. For everyone out there watching and everyone in the comic clan, for future kind of reading up on that, that's actually out in one of the Dark Horse comics. So obviously now the rights have been put over to Boom Studios. They've restarted everything. So that stuff is kind of like Star Wars, like Legends canon sort of thing for Firefly now. But Serenity Volume 3 from Dark Horse is actually a Shepherd's Tale. And it's actually the background of Shepard, and it tells you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because you don't get to go into that in the show. And they actually, I'll tell you, because you never get into it in the show, it's just highly hinted at. Basically, he was a member of the Resistance, of the Browncoats.
Really?
Who went undercover and became a high up Alliance like commander.
Really?
Yeah, he became like a high up. That's why his ID tag reads so big. Like he was in command of like ships, of fleets, pretty much.
Yeah.
Into that, and then I can't remember what happened. I need to reread the comic. It's been years since I've read it. But basically, like, yeah, he gets done with it and he walks away from it, and that's when he dedicates his life to being a shepherd.
Dang, that's crazy.
But like his ID still registers as who he is. Like he's still high up in the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as they're concerned. So that's why they rush him in. That's why they take him in there.
Yeah.
So it's like the word build into something with that. They just never got the chance to like go into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I thought. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not when you go.
One thing that it kind of caught me off guard towards the end of the episode that I thought was hilarious was when he was interrogating that guy's crew.
Oh yeah.
He was basically saying, "All right, you're gonna go there and say this to them." And that big dude with the tattoo on his face is like, "I'm not gonna say that." So Catherine Reynolds kicks him into the jet engine. Dude, I almost fell out my chair. I thought it was freaking hilarious.
I love it. He kicks him in the engine. He pulls over the other guy, and he literally starts saying the same thing.
Yeah,
this is his
like,
money. Yeah. Totally, it's best for everyone. Like, it's like there we go.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I also love the fact.
That's the type of. I love that. So you can interject comedy, but it's still a really tense situation, and I thought that was done really well.
The other comedy bit I love in that is just before that is the fact that when Jane gets drugged, the Doctor drugs Jane so that he doesn't like take the ship to go to Niska.
Oh yeah.
And they try to get him down to the infirmary, and they just leave him on the stairs.
Yeah, he's got his arm hanging out.
His arm's hanging out, and then all of a sudden Mal's fighting with the big tatted guy, and he gets shot in the leg.
Yeah.
And he looks up at him like, thanks, and Jane goes, I was aiming for his head.
Yeah.
Still funny. Drunk and barely move. Like,
I wrote the lens flares. Oh, the lens flares. It was just.
I will be honest, it's like
so many in the episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of lens. It's not quite J.J. Abrams bad lens flares, but like
it was almost at that level. I was like, all right,
there's a few lens flares. Yeah, there's lens flares that take place during.
There was a lot of camera angles reminiscent of Avengers. Specifically, the one that I'm thinking of is, if you remember, there was a shot when they were in the hangar of the helicarrier, and Iron Man was in the foreground, and Captain America was up on the stairs in the background. So they had both of them in the shot, but it was angled up. There was a lot of that, like a lot of the same type of camera angles where they're getting multiple people in the shot, but it's at an angle that just aesthetically I'm just not a huge fan of. But that's super nitpicking.
Yeah, and I think that's them just trying to use the space, because obviously they do a lot of that in the cargo bay, which is like they've got the stairwells to the shuttles and the upper deck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, they're definitely trying to do that as well, I think, with it.
Like I said, that's super nitpicking from my end.
Yeah. So yeah, the train job I think is a good episode. It's a fun episode. Kind of shows you what they're all about. We get a little bit of character background to it. The next episode, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
It's probably one of my least favorite. I like the Reavers and the fact that we go into it a little bit, but the episode just felt slow, and it
was boring. Just to be honest.
Yeah,
for me,
not a lot happened, and then I'm like, and I honestly I hate the reveal of the guy at the end. Like, basically, if you've not seen it, the ship is basically totally deserted. left derelict.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah,
want to
yeah.
go in, check it out. They go in, start checking it out, start like the ship's just been left, and then they get down to one of the cargo holds and they find this mass like net full of just body parts.
Yeah.
And it's like it was Reavers. Reavers have totally ripped everyone on the ship limb from limb,
Yeah.
except for one guy who survived. And basically the whole thing is like it tries to get over with the Reavers the fact that like they are so evil, so sickening that just seeing what they did to everyone else drives this guy mad.
Yeah.
Drives
Yeah,
this
that
guy
was crazy.
insane. And I'm
Was there
like,
ever payoff from that guy in previous in subsequent episodes? Because I remember towards the end, like he had a jacked up face, like some stuff happened to him.
yeah, like he jacks himself up in that, and like Mal ends up killing him at the end.
Ah, that's right.
But you never see it. Like the camera's like here. It's like right at his face,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it's right in there, and it's like completely like yeah, you see his face is messed up, but I'm like, dude, zoom out, zoom out.
Just pull
If
back.
you're going to build up to this, let me see the payoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the thing I hate about it is like if you're going to do that, let me see.
yeah, yeah,
Let me see it. Let me see what the payoff is. And like, I know you're trying to keep the Reavers very like secretive, and you still are
yeah.
because like this dude's not technically a Reaver. It's just the effects of them. But if you're
Mhm.
going to set that up, let me see what happens.
Yeah, but
Honestly,
I wasn't a huge fan of that episode
no.
either.
I don't think there's any big development, any big payoffs, anything like that for that
What
episode. Personally,
Another thing that stuck out to me in this episode is like, and I know that you said we were talking about this a little earlier, but the Chinese, there was a lot more of that this episode, and I'm not against Chinese. I just want to throw that out there. I just without context, it's kind of distracting, and the way that they talk sometimes is very stilted. Like they cut out like um, adverbs and stuff like that. It's like very almost choppy.
mm,
I understand like the language has probably changed. It's in set like in 2150 or something like that. I understand language has probably changed,
yeah.
but I I'm okay with that. Just provide some context as far as how it got to that point, or provide some sort of context. I guess for me it was a bit distracting.
Yeah. No, I can totally get that. I can absolutely see that. It's something that can be very distracting, very, affect things.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not expecting it, like I watched it back with the subtitles on just because like I watch stuff with subtitles now, just because
Yeah, I do too.
because when watching
Because the
stuff,
kids.
yeah, because you're watching stuff at night and you've got kids, you don't want to wake them up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can only turn the TV volume so loud, so like
Yep.
I'll put on the subtitles to make sure I don't miss anything.
Yep.
So watching it back is like and realizing like words that I've missed before that I never thought of. I'm like, oh, it was Chinese there. Oh, they went into Mandarin. Oh, okay, I didn't realize it was like random wee things thrown in certain places.
Yeah. And they've made up words that I think stand for other words that I'm probably not going to say. But yeah.
Oh yeah, like it's definitely used in place of the cuss words, or they say stuff which I'm like, I like, is that a cuss word in Mandarin? It's like, or have you like made an amalgamation of a word that's clearly a cuss word?
Yeah. Like rutting, I think that's one. Like
Oh yeah, they say
RUDDING.
no rudden
Pretty
way.
sure I know what that stands for, but yeah.
Yeah, but then again, like sci-fi stuff I always made like cuss
Yeah.
words like that. So like that's, if you watch Battlestar Galactica, they say frat. You watch Farscape, they say frel. It's like it's rudden instead of other words. It's like
Yeah.
it's like yeah, it's a sci-fi thing. But like I do believe a lot of the Mandarins probably cussing as well. To be honest.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So yeah, we'll move on from that one because I don't think there was much development really, even
No.
character-wise. We get to hear a little bit about the characters as they get interrogated, but even then, not a lot. The only cool thing I think is when the Alliance like catch them and interrogate them. Like we see River and Simon like put on suits and basically go outside the
Dude,
ship
that
to hide.
I wrote a note. I said that was awesome. That was really cool. That was a really cool way out of that situation.
Yeah, it was really cool. I didn't see it coming the first time I watched it. I thought it was a really kind of out the box thing to do.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
enjoyed that.
agreed.
And I even liked the tenseness, like when Mal comes back on the ship when they're looking for the guy, and he just steps into the hallway past the galley and looks to his right, and you just see River and Simon standing there,
Yeah,
and like so close to being caught. It's like I
that
love
was
it.
so cool.
It was so well done. I think
Yeah,
that
I
was really
agree,
well done
100%.
stuff. So yeah, episodes 4 and 5. What were 4 and 5 again? I'm trying to remember now.
For I don't I don't. I just wrote a couple of notes for 4. Episode 5. My first note was Zac Efron! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! So I had to look it up, and it was actually Zac Efron that played a young Simon. So for those of
Really?
you who did not know that, Zac Efron. I don't know if that was his acting debut, but episode 5 of Firefly.
I did
Go check it
not
out.
know that. I did not know
Because
that
I
it
was
was
like,
Zac
man,
Efron.
that kid looks a lot like Zac Efron, and it was him. It was him, and he was really bad in it, but he's definitely gotten better. Um, and this is where I kind of like episodes 4 and 5. We can kind of combine them, I guess. But this is where I kind of felt like the tone was a little inconsistent for me. I felt like the tone was all over the place.
Yeah,
Um,
was 4 and 5 Shindig and Safe, like the big dance party and then the cattle, or was
um, yeah. So episode 5, the one that introduced Zac Efron, a young Simon, that was the one with the cattle. Because I wrote
what is
they were shooting each other with revolvers,
it?
what looked like just straight up revolvers, but they were making laser sounds. So I thought that was a nice. I thought that was a nice touch.
That's how you get that's how you get a space gun. You just use a
just
normal
just
gun and
change
just
the
put a
sound
sound
effects.
effect on it. Um,
I was
yeah,
like,
so
are they
Shind.
legitimately shooting each other with revolvers that are making laser sounds?
Okay, yeah. I've got my. Sorry, I'm pulling up the list on it,
Oh,
so I
okay,
can
you
see
got
the
it.
episode. So yeah, so it was Shindig and Safe, which was kind of a two-parter. Because
Okay,
it's the first time we see like a carryover of something.
okay,
Like they pick up the, like the what they're dropping off at the end of episode 4 and drop it off in 5, and so they
yeah.
kind of tie into each other.
What I said was,
Shindig, I will be honest, Shindig is. I watched Serenity first. When I watched this stuff, Serenity was my introduction to the movie.
huh,
My friend had gave me it. He wasn't a big fan of it. Sat on my shelf forever. I
yeah,
tried to watch it once, wasn't taken with it, and tried to watch it again and got totally hooked. That was my
yeah,
first introduction. First episode I watched, I bought the DVDs and I put disc 1 in my DVD player
mm,
and forgot to take it back out. That night I'd went to a friend's house. I thought, I'll take Firefly with me
yeah,
and we'll watch it because he was intrigued to see it as well.
yeah.
Opened it up and disc 1 was at home.
Oh,
So
okay.
disc 2 was the first one I watched, and the first episode of the actual show I watched was Shindig. This was the
Okay.
first episode of it I ever seen, not including the movie itself.
Yeah,
I know you've written notes it's a bit kind of inconsistent. I love Shindig.
yeah,
I love this episode.
yeah.
I just think it's so fun. It's
Trying to
so
remember
out
what
there.
Shindig is.
Shindig's the one basically they land back on Persephone, the planet they were in the first episode.
Okay.
Um, and basically Badger like grabs Reynolds and Jane to talk business.
Badger's the Irish dude, right?
Yeah, Badger's the guy in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bowler hat.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So like he grabs Malcolm and Jane and basically talks to them about something he's got. That guy who wants to move stuff off world, but basically he's not reputable enough,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
thinking you might be able to kind of wing your way into this.
Hmm.
And this is also the big thing with we start seeing a bit more of Malin and Nara, and more hints. There's been hints in previous episodes that the two of them are always bickering, but they actually do like each other.
So that was one part of the episode that I really did like is when they were dancing and they were kind of having their tit for tat. I thought the character development there was really good.
Yeah,
Because one of the notes that I wrote, because I made my wife watch a couple of these episodes with me. She was like, "Dude, where's the romance?" And this like she was watching this episode and it finally started to kind of show through some of the bravado. So
yeah.
yeah, I thought that was really good.
Because there's been nothing but constant back and forth between them at
Yeah,
this point. Really, it's like it's almost like they don't like each other. He's constantly called her, he's constantly called her a whore. He's constantly
yeah,
basically said that that's all she is. Companion's nothing more than that. She's basically a prostitute. Which it's like she kind of is, but kind of isn't.
yeah.
I talked with my wife about it, and it's like I think the closest thing we came to was what she is as a companion is like a geisha from
Hmm.
Japanese culture.
Okay.
It's like they're basically yes, there is a prostitute side of things, but there's also this whole cultural experience to it as well. There's all this other stuff. They have to be a lady of learning. They have to have all this stuff to them as well. It's not
Yeah,
just as simple as sex.
yeah,
Um, which of course Mal kind of being more of the border planets guy, more of the rough and around the edges, basically like yeah, you sleep with people for money.
yeah.
You're a prostitute. I don't care how you gussy it up. It's you're a
Hmm.
prostitute.
Yeah.
Um, so they've always kind of been at each other's throats, but there's been hints that they kind of do like each other, but they never
Mm-hmm.
quite delve into it a lot. It's like I felt like we'd have seen this slow burn a lot better over multiple seasons if they'd gotten the chance.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the season, the movie, we don't get to see that. But we see a good little bit of that development here.
I thought another.
One of my favorite lines. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead. No, go ahead.
is the line when. Okay, to throw out some stuff there. Basically, he ends up at the party to meet this contact. It's the same party where her and the guy who's hired her for the night are.
Mm-hmm.
They do their dancing and stuff like that, and he basically does not like this guy that she's with and ends up hooking him, which on that planet counts as a challenge to a duel by swords.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's put up in accommodations for the night so that he doesn't run away.
Yep.
She comes in to train him, and it's like, and he's basically making fun of the guy again, and she starts trying to teach him swordplay, and he says, "Oh, did they teach you that in Horror Academy?" And he's like, and she goes like that, like, you basically go after this guy to defend my honor, apparently, but then you call me a whore in the very next breath. He says, like, I may not respect what you do, but he disrespected you. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I adore.
Yeah, that was
that
really cool.
line.
I totally missed that one.
I adore that line from Mal, because like that right there's the difference. Like, he has all the respect in the world for Inara. He absolutely adores this woman.
Yeah.
But he does not like what she does, and he has no respect for what she does.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he looks down on her, and that's why he had an issue with Atherton, the guy she was with, because he didn't respect her.
Yeah.
Like, as a person, he saw her as a piece of property. And I'm like, oh, that just that one line was like,
yeah,
it
that was really
just
cool.
so gets you in Mal's corner for that upcoming duel. It's like that, yeah, you need to take him down a peg. Absolutely. I adore it.
I thought another one was Kaylee, when she was wearing the dress and she was with that group of guys and she was talking to them.
Sorry, before we go into that, can we just talk about Kaylee in the big pink dress? It looks like it's a toilet roll cover from your grandma's house.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
You know what I mean? Like, she absolutely adored that dress. Like, I love it. I love Kaylee.
I thought it was she's probably one of my favorite characters because I feel like she's still like feminine, but she's really good at being a mechanic and she just knows her stuff. And I just feel like that's a really cool way to write that character.
Yeah.
And when she's like going off about mechanic stuff in the group of guys and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like all the guys.
I thought that was really cool.
It's like, yeah, first the women try to put her down and one guy saves her, and then we go back to her, like the 5-10 guys like all surrounding her, all talking about engines and stuff.
Yeah. I thought that's so realistic.
And,
like,
she's 100%
happen.
schooling them as well. They're trying to defend things, and she's like, no, that doesn't work like that. That's just how they should really go.
Yeah,
it's so well done. I love Kaylee.
I thought it was really good.
She's amazing. The one member of the Firefly cast I got to meet in person, and it was absolutely worth it to meet her. Jill Slate's awesome.
So I'll say on a couple of the notes from episode 5. I was getting a strong Walking Dead vibe from the cinematography, the way that the camera was moving. There's a lot of shaky cam type stuff, a lot of like handheld cam stuff. It was just not necessarily a bad thing, but just something I thought I'd point out. I feel like, all right, and this is echoed in a couple of the episodes later on. I feel like Joss Whedon might have a personal gripe with Christianity, because I feel like just the way that he introduced like that crazy Christian cult in the episode 5, and then also the conversation that Shepard and what's her face?
Oh, and River.
Yeah, and River had later on. I'm like, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like he has a very personal, like there's something very personal he has against it.
Yeah, I think there's definite things for that. Like this one is the one in this. You can chalk it up to being like a backwater town, but there's definitely a little thing towards Christianity, I think. Which is understandable. A lot of people, who are in that sort of business have had, bad experiences with the church, with Christians and stuff, and unfortunately that happens.
One thing I will say though, like, because my wife she's written screenplay and stuff like that, and she's also Christian, obviously. One thing she says is people who don't come from that background or aren't familiar with Christianity in general, like, are really bad at writing Christian characters.
Oh yeah.
And I think this is a really good example of that. Like there are some people, there are some movies and TV episodes. I can't think of one offhand, but I know there are some because I've seen them, where not necessarily coming from a Christian perspective, but the characters that are written very, very well and realistically. Like, yeah, they're gonna have flaws and they're gonna have faults and stuff like that, but in the end, they're striving for a specific goal, coming from a Christian perspective, and I feel like Josh really
See,
struggles with that.
I think there's definitely moments like that where it's definitely, is looked down upon. Obviously, you get the mad, cult
Mhm.
that thinks she's a witch
Yeah.
and stuff, which, we actually found out later, which, spoilers for the future, by the way, like, that River's actually got psychic tendencies. That's one
Okay.
of the reasons she's getting experimented on, so that's why she
Yeah.
can read the girl's thoughts. I know it's kind of,
Okay.
people start to kind of probably pick it up from there, like maybe she's got something going on, but
Yeah.
um, they do go into that a little bit. The stuff with the Bible, like when River starts crossing stuff out, is like I kind of like the conversation that comes out of it.
hmm
Like,
I like it towards the end. I get it. Like
yeah,
I got what they were trying to get at.
she's because you're looking at a girl who's very much like her head's all over the place, but like Simon obviously hints in episode 1, like he's a genius level intellect, and what is it he says, like his sister makes him look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like with her intellect, she's trying to analyze this through everything that she can possibly think of.
Yeah.
And I love Shepard kind of saying like it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it is just about faith.
Yeah,
You
and
don't change. You don't fix faith. Faith fixes you.
yeah, and I get that, but I kind of felt like that whole interaction with her and him was kind of like what towards the beginning it was like they punched you in the face and then they kind of picked you up and dusted you off and said
See,
it's okay.
The only reason I felt like that a little bit as well is because they don't expand upon it.
Yeah.
Like literally, I felt like that conversation could have went further, and we could have hit something deep here, like on the religious terms of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Because
I
one
felt like
thing that people don't realize as well, if you go back to episode 1, there's definitely religious tones in it.
yeah.
Episode 1, Mal has actually got a cross around his neck.
Mhm.
You see him holding a cross, and you even see him kiss it.
Yeah.
And then when we get to Serenity, like when he brings his shepherd on board, he's totally against him.
Mhm.
It's like there's a whole religious like connotation to Firefly, like at least in Mal's story, of the man who was completely of faith that lost faith because of what happened in Serenity
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah.
So like I thought there was an opportunity to explore that a little bit here, or at least open that door with River
Yeah.
and with Shepard. Unfortunately, it kind of gets the door slammed on it because she runs in and Shepard's like doing his hair and unties it, and it goes like Don King all over the place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she runs away, and it becomes like more about that, and it totally takes away from it. I'm like, no, there was actually a really good conversation that was about to come from this here.
Yeah, I just felt like and I agree with you 100%. Like I felt like there could have been some really good conversations. I just felt like what she was saying, like it was very targeted. It was a very specific critique of Christianity in general. And then the resolution of that was a very like, oh, it's just faith. You just got to believe it. And I was like, I understand that, and I get where you're coming from that, but I felt like you said, I felt like that there could have been a much better conversation and dialogue in that scene, especially coming from, and I know she's like hardcore, like super intelligent, but especially coming from a pastor's perspective,
Well, yeah, it's like
and Shepard, like he could have, like I think they could have done a better job with him in that.
yeah, because I think that's the thing. It's like it almost showed that the two can't mesh, and I'm like, you could have easily shown like the two could have had a conversation. She's hyper intelligent, like yeah, Shepard's not exactly that level of intellect, but he's not a dummy.
Yeah,
They almost
exactly.
played it as like oh, she's a super intelligent, but he has his faith, and I'm like, no, like if you watch other episodes, Shepard's a pretty bright guy. He's very intelligent.
Yeah, I
And
mean, basically, my thing is they were basically saying everything that she was saying was correct, but he was also correct in that faith is the key, which that was kind of like for me. It was like that was just like that's like a freshman
yeah,
band-aid over it, I don't know.
but you also
I
get
just didn't set right with me.
yeah, but the thing for that is as well, you also kind of get the. It's also a case of like a Christian trying to basically describe your Christian stance on something like this. If you're not a
Yeah.
Christian, you can't really give a response to stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you respond to someone that comes with a higher intellect, with a genius intellect, asking these questions? Like, well, if you don't know it, you can't respond to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's definitely good elements to it, but yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, to kind of wrap up that one with they drop off the cattle, River goes, Simon gets kidnapped by hill folk, and because he's a doctor and they want a doctor, so River goes with them and they catch her as well. During the dealings when they're unloading the cattle which they picked up in Shindig, that was the thing to drop off, was a bunch of cows. A shootout starts and Shepard gets shot.
Yeah.
So they have to leave because they can't go hunting for Simon and he needs like medical care immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave and they go and they get him care, which we talked about. You know, he gets his ID card scanned when the Alliance won't take him on board and then rush him in.
Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of gets them thinking, like, what kind of ID card gets, like, you know, red carpet treatment from the Alliance, from a Shepherd, from a holy man? They're like, that's not someone they would rush in.
Yeah.
So we get another big hint at, like, what's going on with his past. On the other side of it, River basically reads the mind pretty much of a mute girl who won't talk and finds out her backstory. This woman who was helping the doctor. Hey, back. Good to have you, man. No, don't worry. We're still talking. We're still got a good few episodes to talk about.
Yeah, we're on episode 5, getting ready to get into 6.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like, like she gets taken on as a witch. And they go to burn her at the stake because, you know, that's what you do in the 51st century when you're, you know, a small town. You burn people as witches because why not?
Yeah.
So they go to do that, and I absolutely adore this scene. It's one of my favourite scenes in the whole show. It's like when they're about to burn her, Simon can't get her down, so he stands up next to her, and then out of nowhere, Serenity just flies overhead. Shuttles doors open, Jane's standing there with a shotgun, and Mal and Zoe just walk up. It's like, looks like we got here just in time. What does that make? It's like, big damn heroes, boss, ain't we just? I love it, and I absolutely adore the line. One of my favourite lines from Mal as well, along with the one that he says to Inara and Shindig. This is one of my favourites when they stand up on next to them. It says, cut her down. It's like that, she's a witch. She's going to be burned at a stake, and he says, yeah, but she's our witch. Cut her the hell down.
Yeah.
Like, I love that, and I'm like...
Well, that's kind of like one of the lines that Mal says later on. I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody double-crossed him who was on the crew. I can't remember the specifics. He said, why would you save me, or why would you take me back, or something like that? He's like, you're on my crew. But you're part of my crew.
Yeah, that's...
He's like, but I did this. You're part of my crew, though.
Yeah, that's literally the conversation he has with Simon after it. Simon comes and talks to him.
That's right.
And he says, like, why did you come back for us?
That's right.
And he's like, you're part of my crew. He says, but you don't even like me. And he's like,
but you're part of my crew.
Why are we still having this discussion?
Chow's 10.
Yeah, it's like, why are we still having this discussion? Come on, up. It's not even a thing in his head. It's like, no, you're part of my crew, and we don't leave anyone behind.
Yeah, that was the type of stuff that makes me like him as a character, like a lot more. Like, you can see, like, there's layers to him, and like he has that, just excuse my French, but a butthole demeanor about him from the first episode. But then, like, as you get further into the season, you can see, like, you know, that's just the flair that he's throwing up to not let people get close, basically.
One of the episode you mentioned there, it's your favorite so far, episode 8. Is I think when you really see that difference in his character.
Yeah.
Like, I think that portrays that kind of, like, angry captain side of him, but you understand why he does that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you get to see, like, no, he has to be like that sometimes. He has to focus on that.
Yeah.
But he 100% adores his crew and is completely loyal to them.
Yep. I love it.
You know, so it's like, I love it. I love that ending of that episode. It's just beautiful. By the time you really fall in love with the show, it'll be time for the season to end. You'll be like, can't wait for season 2. Oops, not going to happen. Yeah, pretty much. You'll fall in love with these characters by the end of it, and it's like, yep, all done.
So I think we've kind of touched on episode 6 and 7. So episode 6 was the one where the chick seduces the entire crew of Serenity.
Yeah, episode
apparently.
6 we talked about a little bit at the start, and that's when we get Saffron, if that's really her name.
That's right.
If that's really her name, as we find out, you know, it's like she makes up names, she does different stuff.
Yeah.
She's wed off. They help. That's still like one of my favorite bits, though. The start of that episode.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen that opening, I don't know how many times, and it still makes me laugh. The horse and cart pulling through the water.
Oh yeah.
Jane's sitting there, and he says, "They say they want his women," and like that. I married a mighty ugly creature, and he lifts up the bonnet, and it's Mal.
How dare you?
Like, how dare you? How can you shame me in front of good people?
Yeah, that was good.
The guy goes for his gun and is like, I swear by my pretty floral bonnet, I will end you. One of my favourite lines ever in Serenity, and I've never had a chance to use it. I want a chance to use that in conversation somewhere. But like, I love that opening scene. Then they celebrate, they get whatever they get, and they sell off one of their women as his wife. He gets married unbeknowingly.
Yeah.
And she stows away on board. She keeps trying to be very wifely.
Yeah.
But to a creepy level. Almost like, because you see some of the other ones. Mostly, let's put it as we see most of the other women kind of going like, why is she acting like that?
Yeah.
Most of the other guys are going, yeah, it looks not bad.
The interaction between Saffron and Wash and Zoe was hilarious.
Oh,
I did
yeah,
like
at the
that.
dinner table. Yeah, that's
But
amazing.
I think so. This episode is a good example of what I was talking about earlier regarding tone.
Mm.
I think some of the episodes within themselves, I think, have a tone consistency problem, but I think the show overall has a bit of one. Like for instance, I think this episode was just a comedic episode, and as opposed to being, I think this series wants is trying to set the tone that it's a dramatic TV series with pops of comedy here and there. When I think in essence, this episode, I think I felt just was like a comedy.
Yeah, they did try to do a lot more comedic elements in this. And I will be
Yeah.
honest, there are certain bits that don't work. Like, I think I already said to you before, like, the bit I hate in this, and it happens not just this episode, but it happens in others. Excuse me, it's the bit where Inara goes to find Mal and finds him, and he's unconscious. She kisses him and realizes that he got knocked out.
Yeah.
And then it's like her trying to not like let people know what happened to her because she doesn't want to
Yeah.
admit she kissed him. Which I'm like, okay, fair enough, build that up. And she's like, oh yeah, I fell and hit my head. That was it. Say it once.
Yeah.
She
Not
repeats
like
that.
48 times.
She repeats that again while she's down there, but she says it in such a I just hit my head is all. And she says it in such
Yeah.
a weird, over the top way.
Yeah.
And then like when they're up at the trying to fix Serenity after she's busted it up, he says it again like that. She said like professional training, and Simon goes like, "What you mean the good night kiss? Like the stuff you put on her lips to put at Mal?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I fell as all, but Mal had that done to him." And it's like, Joss, go sit in the corner. You're done.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Just
Like
go sit in the corner. It's like
this is one of the episodes where I didn't know that he had written. I think he wrote it. I don't know if he directed it, but I know he wrote it. I had to go back and I was like,
question that. Like, he at least wrote part of it. Some of it is like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely Joss Whedon.
he at least had a hand in it because I went back after the fact. I was like, I got to see this is Josh because I did not like this episode, and it was, and I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I think some of it does come across well. I think some of it does come across funny. Like, I adore the bit when he steps out of like his where is he? I think he steps out the galley and Jane's standing there with his gun. And Jane goes into this big tirade of like how he got this gun and like he killed him and the best of them carried this one. This is my absolute favourite gun. And then hands it towards him. It's like, are you offering me a freaking trade? It's a trade? This is a steal. It's like that. She's got a name. So does she. She's called Vera.
Yeah, I didn't get what was happening at first, but at the end I was like, oh, okay, he wants the girl. Got it.
He tried to trade for his wife, and I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, that was pretty
It's like,
funny.
I do love Jane though. It's like Jane's a phenomenal character. He is such an idiot,
Yeah,
but he's amazing.
I think he's funny.
He's perfectly suited for the role. Adam Baldwin does well.
I did not
Obviously-
know that was a Baldwin until my wife said something. I was
He's
like,
not.
holy
He's
cow, I
actually
didn't know.
not related to the Baldwins.
Really?
He's
Oh,
not
okay.
related to them. He just has the same last name. Because I thought that at first as well. I thought he was one of the Baldwin brothers.
Because I was like, he looks like none of them.
Yeah, no, he's not related. He just has the exact same last name. He just
Oh.
happens to be a famous acting family. Or, well,
That makes
I
sense.
say famous acting family. One of them's famous. The others have pretended to act.
Got it. That makes sense.
I was like, but yeah,
I was like,
no,
he does not look like a Baldwin.
no, he doesn't, and he hasn't, But yeah.
All right, so
But yeah, so like obviously
that's
that one
episode
ends.
6.
Like they sabotage the ship. They manage to get out of it. He catches her and basically decks her out.
Yeah,
At the end, we get the hint that Saffron does this. She plays people. That's all anyone does. So she's basically a grifter.
I thought the way that they got past that capture ship with the net was awesome.
Bat, sorry,
that
let's
was
jump
so
in.
cool.
Bat, we're affiliates now. We officially got the word this morning. We are Twitch affiliates. We can take
Yeah,
subs and we can take bits now. We can take all that fun stuff. And Bob Thracer, who's in the chat, was our first sub to the channel, so he won our giveaway. But yeah, we're affiliate now. We made it. No longer road to affiliate. Sorry to cut you off there, dude. I just wanted to jump in
No,
and
no,
grab
no
that buzz
worries.
there.
I was gonna say I think the way that they got out of that ship capturing them with that net at the end, I thought that was so cool.
Oh yeah, with the gun,
Um,
with Vera inside the spacesuit.
yeah, that was so awesome.
Yeah,
Because
it's like,
even like the way that they use sound in that one
ow.
scene where like they didn't because you're in space, so there's no like sound doesn't carry.
It's the
So
one
that
sci-fi show I've seen that really does that, and I love it.
dude, it was awesome because like you saw the flash of the muzzle, but you didn't hear anything, and then you saw the explosion of the thing, but you didn't hear anything, and you saw the people get sucked out a window, but you didn't hear anything. That's
Oh,
awesome. It's one of
yeah.
the same reasons I love. I can't remember which one it was. Is it Return of the Jedi? I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but the one part of that movie where it's just brilliant is when the that female captain who basically tells everybody to leave the ship, and she takes that ship light speed through a destroyer, and
Mm.
just the sound, the absence of sound rather, is just that's my favorite part probably in any Star Wars movie. I love that. So I like when I like when
Oh,
they play with sound.
you mean the Last Jedi, not Return of the
The Last
Jedi?
Jedi. Yeah, yeah, The Last Jedi. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I like it when, this is a note for episode 8, but I like it when they actually deal with the
Oh, thank
realities
you,
of.
Bat, for those
Thanks,
65
Pat.
bits. Absolutely
Appreciate
appreciated,
it, man.
bro. Thank you so much.
I like when they deal with the realities of their actual surroundings. Like, for instance, I'm a huge fan of James Cameron, the movie Abyss.
Mm.
And then when they deal with the effects of being that far underwater and what that actually means and the realities of that. Same thing with people or with movies in space. I like when they actually deal with the reality of like, yeah, you're in space. This could happen in space. Like, if your ship breaks down, you will all suffocate,
Yeah.
type thing. I love that type of stuff.
Awesome, yeah. It's done really well. And we'll definitely get to episode 8 out of gas. Definitely one of my favourites of the season.
Yeah.
Um, One of my other favourites, though, like watching these two back to back was just like a joy to watch. Episode 7 and 8. I love episode 7, Janestown.
Yeah, that was good.
When they arrive in Canton, and Jane had pulled a job there and was terrified that he would get caught by the magistrate, and then they see the statue of Jane in the middle of the murder village, and it's like, oh my goodness.
I thought it was cool, like the character development for him, because he's a very surface level type person, just
Mm,
in general.
yeah,
But towards the end, you could see that like he does have a heart.
yeah, it was a good deep dive for him because we obviously get to
Yeah,
Canton and they've got like folk songs and all this stuff, and then like he
yeah,
gets
dude, that
found
was
out, a kid
hilarious.
sees him, and he starts celebrating, and even like the next day he starts saying it to Mal, like, should we really be using my fame to like to swindle these people to
Yeah.
and Mal's like, are you okay? I'm like, where's Jane gone? It's,
Who are you?
it's like it's like Jane wouldn't have thought twice about it, but like it really gets him. And then we also get a bit more of the backstory, like kind of just like reinforcing what Jane is, and it's like he is all about the money, he's all about the cash.
Yeah.
And like he became the folk hero because he dumped cash in the middle of Mother Central, but that was
Mhm.
only to keep his ship going,
Yeah.
and he only did that after he dumped his partner out.
Yep.
And it's like it gives you that thing of like he's American. You're like, is that going to come back and bite him? Is that going to come up at some point? Because like
Yeah.
he's, even in the first episode, the lawman tried to like buy him off and stuff like that, and it's like, well, it wasn't enough money. And Mel says, what happens when it is?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that line.
It's
Like,
like,
yeah, I like there's a tension there that they keep like touching on that I really like because you never know if he's going to be in a position where he's going to turn on him.
yeah, it's definitely a really cool sort of tension they build there. You kind of get an idea of the sort of man he is,
Hmm.
and you already know he's not really a reputable sort of guy, but it really
Yeah.
hints at that. But I just absolutely adore Jamestown. Just the whole story with the magistrate and this whole story of like he's this big hero there, and
Yeah.
the
That was
truth of it kind of
hilarious.
starting to come out. But and then obviously at the end, the kid jumps in front of him to save him from the shotgun blast.
Mhm.
And Jane even kind of has to deal with that himself. He's like, I still don't get why he did it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Why?
and that's the part when he's sitting down talking to Captain Reynolds or Mal at the end. Yeah, he's like, I don't understand why he did it. Yeah, he was like super like affected by it.
Yeah, it's like it really happened. Like I don't get it. And like even before he left, there, like saying to them, it's like it's like you can't wait for someone to come and save you.
Yeah,
There aren't people like that are going to drop big bags of money. There's just people like me.
yeah,
And pushes over the statue, and it's like, and then he even says that they're probably just putting that statue right back up.
yeah,
It's like they're probably still doing it, and it's like,
yeah.
It's a really interesting deep dive into Jane that you don't expect. Like, especially from where his character's been so far in the season, you just don't expect it to go into that road, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes. I absolutely adore that one as well. I think that one's handled really well. I think it's written well. There's good elements of comedy to it, because you obviously get stuff going on like with Kaylee and Simon really hinting at wanting to be with each other, and it's like I even love the bit when they're drinking that night and Miles says to get back to the ship, and she basically gets rid of him. Basically tells him
She's
to
like,
go
you're
away.
not coming to the ship.
It's like it's going really well. Go home.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like it's going well.
It's like you guys just stay out here and look after Jane. Yeah. That's funny.
I love stuff like that, and then obviously we get the side story with Inara that only plays into it, which actually brings up some interesting questions. It's one of the few times with her as a companion I really enjoy. Because we see some of the people she sleeps with, and obviously she's there to be with the magistrate's son, who's a 26-year-old virgin, which I love the fact that's getting pushed down on him. I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And she's the one who says that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
I love that message. Though, it's like there ain't nothing wrong with that, and he's lying there after they've had sex, and he's basically like, I thought I'd feel different.
Yeah.
Shouldn't I be a man now? And I'm like, I don't totally agree with her wording of what she hints at. Like a man is just a boy that's old enough to ask that question.
Yeah. All right. So I wrote that in quotes. I was like, that was a really good episode, but I felt like that was not a great line. A man is just a boy who's old enough to ask if he's a man. I don't understand how that makes sense.
No. I'm like, I agree with what she's trying to get across. The wording was definitely not right for that.
Yeah. It's like saying a piece of cheese is an orange item that's cheese. That doesn't make sense. That's like circular reasoning.
Do you know what it makes me think of, though? It sounds like I know to go into a sexist thing here, but it sounds like a line of like a woman trying to basically describe what a man's to be. Like, a woman's never going to fully understand how a man's mind works. A man's never going to fully understand how a woman's mind works. They're two totally different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a line that you would expect her to say, but like what she's trying to get across, though, I do agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact of like that. It's like, yeah, you've had sex. That doesn't make you a man.
Yeah.
Having sex, don't have sex. That doesn't affect if you're a man or not. It's like being a man is being a different sort of person. Paul says it in the Bible. It's like when I was young, I acted like a child. I thought like a child, and when I grew up, I put away childish things.
Yeah.
Contrary to what people believe, I don't believe that's putting away toys and comic books and all that sort of stuff. I believe that's putting away certain attitudes and behaviors and stepping up and becoming a man. It's something that happens within you. You can go your whole life without having sex, and it's like you bedded a woman. That don't make you a man. There's plenty of people out there that have buried women that I'm like that. You are definitely not acting like what a man should be acting like.
Yeah, I agree.
You're definitely not carrying yourself with, how a man should carry himself, with honor, respect, and treating others with honor, dignity, and respect. It's like.
Yeah, and I think they pay off that conversation with his action at the end of the show.
Yeah, and I love the way they pay that
episode,
off. Of, like, he's like, he takes it as, am I going to live under my father's boot for the rest of my life? And
yeah, exactly.
And he even says that to him, you wanted me to be a man. I guess I am one now.
Yep.
And it's like, I love that. I love the payoff for it. I think it's really well done. A lot of her companion sort of meetups don't really go anywhere. But I feel like that one's a really strong one. And then obviously that helps towards that little plot point of like, oh, they'd landlocked the ship.
Yeah.
And he's the one that takes it off and basically goes against his dad. I'm like, I think it's beautifully done. It's a really fun episode. I love that, and I love episode 8 out of Gas, but I love them for totally different reasons.
Episode 8 is by far my favorite episode.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw over to you to start on episode 8, because you keep saying how this is your favorite so far, that you've been enjoying it. So go on, take us into it. What do you like about it?
I like unconventional narratives. So I thought the way that they approached this episode with 3 separate timelines and flashing back and forth between all 3, while also simultaneously building character or having character development for all of the characters that you love and know already, and establishing real stakes. I thought every single one of those aspects was handled like maybe not perfect, but I thought it was handled really well.
Yeah, pretty darn close to perfect.
Yeah, they dealt with the realities of being in space. They dealt with characters' backstories coming in, understanding where characters were coming from. Alan Tudyk with a mustache is freaking hilarious.
That was amazing.
That was awesome.
I love that
the
mustache.
Was fantastic. I just really loved the flow of the story. Let me see. Yeah, I put real stakes. I felt like there's been stakes in previous episodes and stuff like that, but when you start out with Mao basically dying on the floor,
Yeah.
that's the start of the episode, dude. Like I was hooked immediately because I was like, starts out fantastic. That was my first note, and I was drawn in from the very beginning of the episode. I thought the episode was just really good.
Yeah. It's done really well. I think that's the thing.
Thanks, Pat.
Well, thank you, Bat. A
Appreciate it,
thousand
man.
bits. Thank you for those bits, man. That is absolutely appreciated, dude. We really appreciate it, and it's awesome to say that we can get bits and subs now. I love saying that. But yeah, thank you so much for those that have thrown bits our way, that are cheering for the stream, and thank you for Bob for subbing as well. I just want to say that quickly, guys. We appreciate it. We really do.
Yeah, I really appreciate the support. It means a lot.
Um,
But what I was saying
but
was
yeah.
earlier, like tone wise, I think this is the type of sci-fi that I am down for.
Mhm.
Like forever. Like I like it when the sci-fi I like my sci-fi when it's taken like just a little bit in more of the dramatic like direction. Not that I don't like humor in my sci-fi. Obviously I love that. But I like slightly more like dramatic tension type stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um
absolutely. And I think this episode does it really well. It does a great
yeah.
job of, like you said, raising the stakes from the get go. Mal shot, what happened,
And I
why is it?
legitimately thought he was gonna die in the episode. Like I was like, dude, they're gonna kill him in this episode. There's no way.
There's a legitimate thing of like he's going to die. There is no way he's making it. Like, cause
Yeah.
cause you see him crawling around the ship trying to get this piece into the engine, and then he drops it, and then he has to try and refit it again, and it's like he ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
He ain't going to make this. There's no way.
Yeah, I legitimately thought he was gonna die. I was like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I thought he was in Serenity, the movie.
Yeah, and it's like it's done really well, and you get to see how they get to that point with the ship breaking, and they intersperse that so well. Like it's really good. Like I love the fact that the show drops us right in with the characters, but then
Yeah.
they take this one to like go back and show you, well, this is how they got the ship. Like even him finding Serenity, I love that voiceover at the start.
Yeah. You
Where
thought
the
he was
guy,
talking about Serenity, but he was talking about a different ship.
he's talking about a ship, and
Yeah.
and Mal just saw Serenity, and he's like, "That's it. That's my boat. That's what I got." Although I do love him taking Zoe on board. What do you think of it? It's like that. I
Yeah.
think you were robbed. And I said, a ship like this will be with you to the day you die, because it's a death trap, sir.
Yeah.
I
And
love
he's
that
like, once we
line.
get it running, she's like, it's not running.
So it's not running. Nah, not so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. And the whole thing with Kaylee, like how she got this ship to
Oh
run, like
yeah,
I
it's
thought that
like,
was brilliant. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you
it's
don't
like,
need this.
I love that as well. It's like, because Kaylee's not even hired. They hire a mechanic who they're stuck on this rock with, who ends up sleeping and having sex with Kaylee in the engine room. And he's like, "Is there a problem with your bunk?" It's like, "Oh, she likes engines that get her hot."
Yeah, yeah.
And then she's like, he's kind of like, "Well, we can't fix this." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not your problem." Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you just need to do this. Actually, take this out and connect this here and connect that. And you got experience with ships like this?
Yeah.
Never been up in one. Do
So
you
you
wanna?
like without saying it, like it hints at she's just like got insane brains for just anything mechanical,
Yeah,
and that's just super cool the way they do that.
yeah. Well, she says that even like in the episode, like when she's got the broken piece,
Mm-hmm.
and Mal's asking her to fix it. She's like, it's like Serenity usually tells me when there's something wrong. Maybe I wasn't
Yeah.
listening. Like it's almost like she communes with a ship.
Yeah.
Like she just
Yes, I
is in
love that.
touch with it. She just loves. She knows how to speak to machines and how
And
to
it's
make them
not
work.
forced. It's not like jammed down your throat. Like
Yeah,
I'm a woman and I'm better at mechanic than any guy on the show. It's not
yeah,
like they do that. They just make her a good mechanic.
yeah. I
Like it's
love that.
just
I love that the show turns things on its head like that. Like
yeah.
it's got like her as the mechanic. It's got even like the way it portrays women. Sometimes I really do enjoy. Like even the relationship between Zoe and Wash.
Mhm.
Wash is by no means the sort of macho sort of guy, but she's like the fighter, she's the warrior, she's the
But she
soldier.
is. She's way more like
Yeah, she's a
like
total
masculine than he
warrior woman,
is.
and he's completely not what you would say is a masculine guy. Not that he's not a man, but he's not
Yeah.
the usual macho sort of guy. I love the way that they flip those things and they turn them, and it's like, because think this is back in 2001. That stuff
Yeah.
wasn't really been done back then.
Well, and but at the same time though, with a Zoe and Wash, they don't do it to his detriment. Like they
Oh
don't make him
no,
look
no,
like
no,
a
no,
buffoon. Like
absolutely
that's just
not.
how he is, and it's accepted, and it's okay.
Yeah, he's an amazing character, and he's got his
Yeah.
own rights, and it's like that's not one of his strengths, but you know what? He's got amazing other strength. He's the
Yeah.
best pilot out there, and even in this episode, they build that up. Like, I love that thing as well. Like when he's introduced, and Zoe's like, "I don't like him."
Yeah, yeah,
I don't like
that's
when it's
funny.
like, wait, but this
It's
guy's
the
after him.
mustache.
This guy's been trying to get him on his crew for a month. This guy's wanting him here. It's like
Yeah,
we're not saying no to this guy. Like, so it builds up how good Wash is at his job,
yeah,
and it also builds up that interesting thing of like that she didn't like him, but clearly the looks that Wash was giving her, like he
yeah,
clearly liked her for the get go.
yeah,
It's like it's a really well done episode. It's even the way it's done, even the tension of like when he sends him away, you get to see that build up of Inara and Mal as well talking to each other. She doesn't want him to stay there, doesn't
yeah.
want
That
him
was
to be
so good.
abandoned. When the ship gets damaged, it's because something blows and there's a fire. I love the way that they get rid of the fire. Like
Yes, that was awesome.
he opens up the cargo bay doors to let the fire rush out into space.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when they're dealing with the realities, like, dude, you are in a floating piece of metal that it has encapsulated air within it. It's
Hmm.
pressurized.
Yeah,
Like if something happens to any one of those things, like you are dead.
yeah. And I love it. It's done so well, but like I love
Yeah.
the way they get rid of that, and then I love the way like Zoe's injured, and I love that we get to see Mal's flip on. We've been getting to see the good captain for a little bit, but we get to see that hard
Yes, I
sort of
love
side of
that.
him. Like he's like washes like his wife said, it's like I'm not going there, and it's like Mal like literally grabs him, slamming him against the medical door, like you need to get up there. Like and it's that thing of like Mal doesn't say it out loud, but you're like, I understand your wife's hurt,
Exactly.
I
Well, and
understand, but I'm trying to save the rest of us.
well, yeah, and part of it, like, it's an unsaid thing, and maybe this is just in my mind. Part of it's like, dude, this is not a good idea for you to be here. Like, you
Yeah,
need to get out of here, type thing.
yeah,
That's what I felt like Mal was saying that to Wash. Like, dude, you need to get out of here. You need to go do your job and get your mind off your wife for a minute because
yeah.
you're not going to do any good in here.
Well, the way I always took it was I seen it as a fact of like if there's anyone else in that room that's as broke up about that as Wash, it's Mal. Mal's like
Mhm.
known as away forever,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
and he's like, but this ship is damaged. I don't know what's going on. Like that's why he sends Kaylee to the engine room. Like I need you to go and get the computers up and running
Yeah,
because if we don't fix this, we're dead.
yeah,
It's like I know your wife's hurt. Let the doctor do his job. If you sit here, you're doing nothing.
yeah.
And I love the way
It's
that
like it just does a good job of setting tension from the like very first frame.
yeah.
It's just so good.
I love the way that they do that, and then I love like even at the end, like he gets the ship fixed and stuff after he gets hoodwinked by the other guys who gave him the part and then try to take the ship.
Mm.
Which I love the fact he fends him off the boat with a gut wound, gun in
Yeah,
hand. He had the
yeah,
gun hidden in the cargo bay, and he like fends him off the boat,
yeah.
and then goes and puts the thing in, but he doesn't call the ships back. The shuttles come back because Zoe makes them turn round.
Well, and one thing that Mal says to the guys as they're going leaving the boat, and dude was like, "You would have done the same thing," and he was like, "Well, obviously you can see that I haven't."
Yeah, it's
So
like
that's another like just a line of dialogue that pushes character development at the
uh
same time of establishing like
yeah.
dialogue. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
absolutely my favorite character in the whole thing is Mal. Just every
Yeah,
every episode you
so
get
good.
something to his character, even if it's just something little that's like, yeah, I love you, you're
Well,
amazing.
and even at the end when he's in the hospital bed and everybody's in that room, or he's in the
Oh, I love
infirmary
that
bed
scene.
and everybody's in the room, and at the end he's like, "You guys are going to be here when I wake up, right?"
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
love
okay.
that.
Like I love the fact that they are okay with showing like showing vulnerability in him a little bit,
Hmm.
like because I felt like they weren't going to do that. They were just going to have this huge vibrato, this Han Solo. That's why, like I said, he wasn't super likable in the first episode, but I'm glad that they're like showing that side of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's phenomenally done, and in my opinion, knowing what comes, it's like it only gets better from here.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, I'm
it's
excited. I actually got excited and watched episode 9 because I got so excited about episode 8. So
oh
I'm
nice,
like one episode ahead of where we're at.
awesome. Well, there you go. You're getting to what jumping ahead.
Yeah,
Fantastic. I would go into episode 9 since you've already watched it, but we're pretty much at our mark, so I don't want to delve any
yeah,
further. Next month, I think maybe we'll try and do Cosmic and the Cross Part 2 for Firefly and go through
absolutely.
the
I thought
rest
this
of it.
went well.
Yeah, I think this has gone well. Let us know if you thought this went well in the chat and stuff. Um, but yeah, we're probably going to wrap up round about here. And this has gone pretty well. I think
Yeah, I agree
this is
100%.
definitely something we can look at doing more in the future, and splicing it with what we're doing. I'd eventually love this to become its own podcast eventually, but at
Yeah,
the moment, like intersplicing it with what we're doing with comics and the cross, I think is good. So to everyone out there, thank you so much for everyone who's been following us. Thank you to everyone
appreciate all the
who's
support.
to all our followers on social media, to all the people who are supporting us, to getting us to be Twitch affiliate guys. You have no idea. For those in case you missed it, throwing it in chat again. Cosmic the Cross. Yeah, go ahead, Bat. If you've got an idea, definitely send it my way. We would love to do more Cosmic and the Cross stuff. Absolutely. So as I said at the top of the show, Go check out our sponsor. Click on that link to get some Gamer Grind coffee goodness, number one coffee for gamers. Hashtag on that grind. And if you go to checkout after buying something, put in code comics and the cross, and you will get 5% off an order. So go ahead and get on top of that now that we are influencers with them, and we get to give you guys a little bit of a reward as well. So thank you for Gamer Grind for upgrading that for us and letting us just bless our community. It's like I love our community, and I'm glad we get to give back like that.
Cool, thanks, Pat.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
We appreciate it, Pat, and that's the thing as well. We are, now we can get subs and we can get cheers and bits. If you can give something, we absolutely appreciate it. It helps the channel keep going. By no means is this mandatory. Same if you want to give, we do have a Patreon as well. But again, this is not mandatory. I know times are tight and money is tight right now, but anything.
We'll continue to do it regardless. Yeah, so we'll be here.
We're doing this. We love doing this. We're going to keep doing it. If you want to get into that stuff, if you want to get some of our merchandise, I'll post this up quickly as well. Just as I mentioned, because shout out to Bob Fraser, our very first sub and part of the Stan Clan level of the Comic Clan, who is now getting a free Comics in the Cross t-shirt on Patreon, or do you mean on Patreon or through Bitsbat? We get more on Patreon. The way bits work is for every bit we get 1 cent. So like the 1,000 bits that you gave us, which is greatly appreciated, is like $10, which we greatly appreciate. But on Patreon you can support us, and there's 6 different tiers to choose from, so you can go and have a look at it. We do, like, I think the lowest one is $2 all the way up to our highest, which is $100. Each one comes with different levels of stuff, but you can by all means go ahead and subscribe at whatever level you want, if at all. And we appreciate it. Big one for next week. Absolutely for next week. Our next week's show, Comics in the Cross have their first interview with Lewis Southard, the writer of the new comic that dropped a few weeks ago, Villains Seeking Hero.
Started reading it, man. It's super cool.
Yeah. It's amazing writing. I absolutely adore it. It's done really well. He actually posted on his social media he'd done an interview with someone else recently, which I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of jealous of, because he was meant to do an interview with us first. We almost got his first ever interview. So I'm kind of annoyed at that, I'll be honest.
How dare he?
I know. How dare you speak to other people? But the guy.
How dare you promote your product?
Yeah, the guy seems like an absolute legend. So we will have him on the show next week talking about it. The link I've posted in chat is to Comixology, to the Villain Seeking Hero page, and where the first 8 issues are available. You can get the first trade, which is issues 1 to 5, for just $5.99 on Comixology. So go ahead, check that out. You absolutely, trust me, you will not be disappointed. Just warning for anyone, in case anyone's sensitive to it, it does have cussing in it. That's the only major thing. There's not like any other mature content, but it is part of Action Lab's mature line, so there is cussing, which is like 1 or 2 cuss words per. Oh, you got a friend, Nitro.
What happened? Oh.
There's a princess joining us for the end of the cast.
This is my daughter, Lily.
Hey,
Say
Lily.
hi. Say hi.
Alright, we're wrapping up anyway. But yeah, so go ahead and check out his stuff. You will not regret it. Trust me, the guy's absolutely amazing. Go show him some love on social media, and please come and check it out next week. You don't want to miss this amazing interview. I think we're going to get a 3-way call with Skype, so that it's the 2 of us and him on screen. It might not be. We'll need to work it out. If in doubt, we'll work something out so we can both talk to him.
Cool.
We'll talk about that, and we'll try and sort that out this week to make sure we can get it up and running. But thank you to everyone in the Comic Clan. Thank you for everyone for hanging out with us today and talking some Firefly. I can talk Firefly to the cows come home, pun intended. Alright, but you guys take care, have an amazing day, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.
Thomas.